I'm live at the Red House with the one and only Mason Vi.
Howdy! Are we facing right here, or are we just facing each other? Doesn't matter.
You can, whatever you like, man.
Whoever's watching this.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing pretty good. It's cool to be back here. You know? Again, it's an old, like I was just telling you, I just got back from Costa Rica and, fun in the sun for a little bit. And flew out from like Raleigh area. And my girlfriend lives in Raleigh right now. So I was staying with her for a few days. And now I'm going to visit my mom before I go drive back to Nashville. We're doing some recording stuff for this like forest fire benefit related. You know, it's something with Red Rocks, I think, or the guy who runs Red Rocks that he's putting together.
I saw that, yeah.
And there's basically, we're going to do like 2 songs and record them before this event happens. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure all the details, but basically I got to be back there on Tuesday to do this recording thing for that. But yeah.
Well, man, again, thank you for making time to do this. For those who don't know this, is a little interesting bit of history about this is back when this channel was the Red House Songwriter Sessions, you were the last one that we taped.
Okay.
And then
That's what you're saying, yeah.
Then our whole system got all screwed up, and I lost.
Now here I'm back,
and he's finally back. And it's been like, I think I saw one of those Facebook memory things today that apparently it was like 8 years ago that I started that channel.
Shoo.
So anyway, now you're back, and we're like making up for lost time.
There we are.
So you had a different year than most people have.
Yes, it's been a good year. It's been a come up, you know.
It has been
0 to 100.
Yeah. Where did that? You've had an interesting story. Of course, your whole life has been musical and interesting, but let's just start with last year, or the last year of your life. Like, where did the story of the last year start?
Yes. Okay. I think the easiest way to, start that all out is, all right, move to Nashville. Well, let's start maybe 2 years ago. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of breeze through a lot of it because some of it wasn't as interesting. But 2 years ago, moved to Nashville and chased a country dream that was not really thought out or planned at all. Basically, I got out of college and I had been looking for a job for months, and then could never find a job. Got all these interviews, didn't get hired, and I was playing gigs this whole time. And I was like, well, why am I? Now we're, I guess, talking about 3 years ago. So couldn't anyway. I was like, I've been playing music my whole life. Why am I not just chasing that down? Like if I put 5 years, whatever amount of time into it, think about where I would be compared to if I put 5 years into a job,
Yeah.
And like just understanding that kind of mindset about it, the long-term mindset. And, mostly I just wanted to play music for a living. And I'm so happy to be able to do that now. But anyway, back to then. So I won. We didn't win. We got second place at the On the Rise Floyd Fest competition. My band did. And that was kind of maybe I should really keep chasing. That was another one of those things like they've happened all throughout my life. We were talking about, the shuffle back in the day.
Yeah.
That was one of those things. Oh, maybe I should keep chasing this, It just a bunch of those little pieces of something that's like, you can keep going, it's worth it, Proven that you're worth being able to make music for a living, basically. And so chased that for a little while, moved to Nashville, on a whim, basically, just because I had a friend who had an extra room. And then it just didn't really work out because COVID hit. And moved back home and I basically got a job teaching at a military academy there for a little bit over here in Oak Ridge.
I didn't know.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It is funny too because I thought it was a middle school the whole time. But it was actually a high school. And I was just, on my last day, I was actually teaching Spanish as a substitute teacher, but I don't really teach Spanish. I don't speak Spanish at all. But I was just trying to fake Spanish, To anyways, it was kind of hard, but they did say if like any of them acted up, I could tell them to drop down and give you 10 push-ups right then.
Wow.
But I never did that. But apparently, like, I thought they were sixth graders, but they were really like high school seniors the whole time. They just looked so anyway. But so I was doing that, and then I got this Instagram message about, hey, you ever thought about being on American Idol? And I was like, this is a robot, And I was like, but I wrote it back because I was like,
might as well.
I don't know. This is kind of nice, even if it's a flattering robot at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll write you back. Nicer than most people. But and it turned out being real. It was a talent scout for American Idol who had just found, I guess, my Instagram through like a hashtag or something. Just this picture of me in a cowboy hat with a guitar, and was like, this boy looks like he might be able to sing. And then looked at some videos, and apparently this talent scout was like, okay, hey, we can actually expedite the whole cattle call process, and we can get you straight to the executive producers. So I did a Zoom call. It took like 2 hours, this whole process of me auditioning in front of the executive producers. I didn't even think about it, I had like a friend over there hanging out. We had plans to do something after. I'm like, let me do this. I mean, I'm not even thinking twice about it. But then it turned out they were like, hey, yeah, actually, you got through. And next thing I know, they're like, we're going to fly you out to California to go audition in front of the judges. And I was like, okay, here we go. And that was a wild experience because it was like a week and a half of taping and so many COVID precautions out there at that time. It was kind of it was intense for you had to stay in your room. I was hoping it was going to be more like, oh, let's go hang out with all the other contestants, but it wasn't really a lot of that. It was a lot of isolation and thinking about what was about to happen and waiting in line to go do these picture photo shoots and different little interviews here and there and everywhere, and they'd make you do all these psychological tests and stuff. It's kind of interesting. But then I had this whole bit where I was going to teach Katy Perry and Lionel Richie and Luke Bryan and Ryan Seacrest how to play the kazoo. And then so I got there and I taught them how to play the kazoo. It's funny, but like, and then next thing I know, Katy Perry and Lionel Richie are like ham boning and having this ham bone off and like this whole side conversation while we were supposed to be having like my audition. And I wish I could get this video of this, but I never could. But I was so like scared and nervous about it. I almost didn't make it through. But then they were like, all right, we're going to get you through. We like what you're doing. I was like, oh, thank the Lord. So I made it, but I almost like passed out because like I didn't eat and like I didn't drink enough water, all that stuff. I had so much anxiety through the whole thing. Went on to Hollywood Week eventually after that, and then made it skip a little bit ahead, made it all the way to the top 40. But I met so many cool people along the way, like all the people that were in like the top 10. I knew them personally from the experience, like Chase, who won. I don't know if you followed it at all. I know a lot of people didn't, okay. But Chase Beckham, who won, and I were like hanging out, eating lunch before either of us got the golden ticket, and but a little bit about American Idol, like it taught me a lot about what it takes to be a performer, and like that it's going to be hard if I was to be the next American Idol, and if I was going to like go on and be Mason Vi, the next American Idol, it would be difficult, and I'd have to get used to that. I'm so glad that I'm doing what I'm doing now because it's like a lot more suitable for me personally. But I had a bunch of like advice on singing, as well as like I've actually basically had to learn to cope with some performance anxiety because you have 1 minute to impress Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Luke Bryan.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people, you see on TV your whole life. I had the whole starstruck thing going on.
It's a little surprising, the anxiety, because you've been performing, your whole life.
Yeah. And I mean, I got to Hollywood Week the first week, honestly, all the performances, I kind of, after that first one, I knocked them out of the park. But I don't think they really knew what to do with me, because the other people, they for one thing, they kind of spilled their guts on their whole story and like had all these backstories that were painful and cinematic and all that. And
Yeah.
I was not as probably open about all the trials and troubles I've faced in my life as I could have been, as well as like I'm coming in with this kazoo bit. And then, singing some like old 90s country, but I'm really like a bluegrasser. But the funny thing is, like, there's all these other bluegrassers on there on the show at the same time. Like, so it's like, I can't do the bluegrass thing now because, there's like 5 other people who like, that's their backstory. And I'm like, trying to, a lot of these things ravel in my head. Like, who am I going to be for these judges? I need to be unique. I need to be, different than everybody else. And I really just should have not cared about the image thing or all that stuff and just try to been me. And at the end of the day, I kind of did that for the very last Showstopper performance. And then they were like, I did this like 90s country song, and apparently that's not exactly hip anymore. It's kind of played out. It's, the long story I think I got from, Luke Bryan. But anyway, so God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers, though, or whatever. And
according to 90s country.
Yeah, according to 90s country. It's funny because it was a Garth Brooks song that I did. Exactly. I did Baton Rouge, which is like also a Newgrass Revival song. And I'd been doing that at shows with like a fiddle. And then they were like, I had one audition with the band. One practice with the band, the Showstopper band or whatever. It was actually like Katy Perry's live band. And I was like, y'all got a fiddle player? They were like, nah, we ain't got a fiddle player, but actually we're the backing band for like the Dixie Chicks or the Chicks, and we like play the fiddle with this synth thing, and it just didn't sound the same. It should have been like a bluegrass band.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. It basically, the whole experience was like a little eye-opening to me that like I kind of come from the holler and am used to some hillbilly shit. You know what I mean? And now I'm over here in Hollywood. And it's not exactly what I'm used to. So. But coming home and having all that experience for the audition and the prep and all the scrutiny that I put myself under the microscope over for my singing, my performance, and my playing and all that, it overall helped because right after I got home, I got a call that was unrelated to the American Idol stint about auditioning for Old Crow. And then when I went to go do the audition, I had the confidence and I wasn't scared like I was, at American Idol because I had just dealt with one of the scariest things ever, And even though I'm sure you probably listened to Old Crow back in the day, or something, even though seemed like everybody knows Wagon Wheel. And like, when I was 12, 14, around the age when I first, saw you playing at the Shuffle and stuff, I was learning like Highway Halo and Take 'Em Away and all these Old Crow songs. Anyway, it was wild to get to meet them. I was starstruck by them too. And then it just ended up working out with the way that audition worked was like, they were like, come down for a weekend. We'll give you a little money for the travel. And, I did one day and they were like, okay, sounds good. It was kind of informal, but then it kind of progressed to be more formal along, because it was like a weekend, and it started out, we just started playing some old time music and having, a good time together, kind of getting to know each other. And then it was like, well, did you learn any Old Crow material? And I was like, well, yes, of course I did, and then we played some of that and sang some harmony. And then it moved into like, hey, we're making an album, and that's really why we're trying to hire you to, be a member of the band. Let's try to do this new song that we just wrote, and maybe you can help us arrange it together. Let's see how you work in a collaborative setting. And that went well. And then went back and did all that again the next day. And then the next day, Ketch was like, hey, let's write a song together. And we wrote a song. He liked the song. We ended up actually recording that song in the album, but it's not making it on this run. It got cut. I don't know. It might end up making it to there's actually going to potential. I don't know if I should say this enough. There might be another album coming out right after
Okay.
this one, so that's coming out. But
If tomorrow, if you want me to cut that out, I
No,
will.
I don't know if it. I don't think it matters. It's pretty
I
far.
have
Nobody's
about-
combing with a fine tooth comb on here. So if anyone who's listening, there's a little Easter egg there. There might be something
Yeah.
else coming. But yeah, and then going on tour, going from hometown, local gigs around Winston and Stokes County, and I mean, I drove a bunch of different places playing with my pops, and then my little different bands through the years, but like not on a national level.
Yeah.
And getting on a bus compared to riding to the gig and setting up everything on my own and like being the whole business in myself, and then to just join an organization is like night and day difference. And it really it makes you realize like how far it would have been if I hadn't just been able to join this entity and have this opportunity and get asked to be a part of it. So I'm very thankful to be where I am now, and have had the year that I've had this year, basically with like playing Red Rocks and the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman, several different festivals, like main stages, and it's just been awesome,
Yeah. Yeah, man. See, like watching all that, some of those things you just said are the parts that stand out as somebody who's just like from the same place. It's like it's exciting to think about what it must feel like to step into those those iconic venues for the first time.
And at first, man, it really was like, I think I've heard, it was actually, I think on the last podcast or something, maybe not the last one, but his and hers, they were on here. I'm friends with it. It's so funny because before all this stuff, like Caleb and Sarah, they both like sang some Old Crow covers, and I was playing bass in their little band for a little bit, and I didn't know, some of the songs that like were like the newer Old Crow stuff, so like I wasn't familiar with, and they kind of like turned me onto it. I was like, oh, that's cool. I've been listening to some Old Crow again, and before getting called, I was actually like getting back into them, because it's been like I'd kind of not listened to a lot of the new stuff in a minute, and I had recently been listening to it, so it was so cool because it was relevant when he had actually messaged me, to ask me to go audition. It was like, wow, full circle. But no, but with Caleb, he had said something about can't remember it now for some reason, but like imposter syndrome. That's what. Sorry, yeah, maybe you need to cut all that time or whatever in between, but like imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
that's what it was. And there was a feeling of that for a while, and there's still kind of like a slight feeling of that, but then the guys in the band and like the crew, they're like, you gotta give yourself some credit, man. You were out there hustling for a long ass time, and it's the truth though. Like I went on American Idol, I did a lot of different gigs for free around here, played at different festivals and got my feet in, and like I went to school and got a minor in Appalachian music, and I took lessons from Rex and Ralph for the McGee's, if anybody's familiar. I'm sure what I'm talking about, around here, and like for a long time growing up, and I put the time into it basically. So it was like coming to terms recently that I'm where I probably need to be, and people are thinking it's a good fit, and I'm happy I'm here. I just want to bring as much as I can though, and continue to do that. I'm spending my days trying to learn the banjo and the fiddle right now, like I was telling you, and try to never trying to slip up, and trying to keep up my chops basically on the instruments that I do play, and singing and songwriting and overall musicality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of those iconic first time, those iconic venues that you've got to step into now for the first time, was there is one of those really stand with you the most, or like stick with you the most?
Well, the one that everyone basically kind of talked up the most was Red Rocks. That was ever since going. I saw a show there back in, I want to say 2017, I think, or maybe it's 2018, but it was Tedeschi Trucks Band and like Drive By Truckers and Marcus King. Killer show there. I mean, Derek Trucks on that electric, the steel guitar, man, it's amazing. He just take like a 10-minute solo and blow your mind. But anyway, but after seeing that and being like, wow, what a venue, and then thinking I would never play that, never even pondering the idea of me playing that stage, but thinking, wow, what a thought to just be here to witness this.
Yeah.
And then to be like, oh, I'm about to play here. That was amazing. And then the Grand Ole Opry was the same way. But the Grand Ole Opry, it's a little different because you only go out and play for like 2 or 3 songs. And you're a part of a program, which is pretty cool, too, to be like, oh, there's Bobby Osborne playing Rocky Top, and now we're about to go out there. And then there's John Connolly singing Rose-Colored Glasses right after. I mean, it was like, whoa. It's a lot of country music history there and at the Ryman, too. And I mean, then there's been other like specific venues as well that have just been a lot of fun too. Like, for instance, got to plug Floyd Fest, because they were a big supporter of me through the years. I played there a bunch and never thought, I'd get to play the main stage like headliner spot there ever.
Yeah.
What a cool thing.
Yeah.
To go from being in the On the Rise competition the year before, like hoping people are asking everyone and their brother to vote for me, being like, oh, come on, vote for me, please. I hope I can just play there again next year. And then to come back with Old Crow and like playing on the main stage at like the headliner slot is like, it really is. It's, it's one of some of those experiences. Like I was telling my buddy, like playing, we had never played Wagon Wheel together as a band until my first gig with him. They were like, you know it, right? But, we never talked about it. We never talked about it. And then, like, we get up there, and we never practiced it. And we get up there, and they're like, you going to kick it off, right? And I'm like, what? And it's like, all right, here we go. And the cool thing is about, like, when we play Wagon Wheel, everybody knows by the second chord
Yeah.
that it's that song, just boom, dun, 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 boom, dun, like, everybody knows by then. But, and so I kicked it off, and it, went good. It was just like, and it was kind of this out of this body experience, almost seeing everyone at the Grand Ole Opry stand up and sing along to this song. And I'm like, I'm playing Wagon Wheel with Old Crow, and like I'm in this band, and I'm about to jump on this ride, and go, it's going to be a roller coaster, but here we go.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry.
so that's.
Yeah, I don't mean to break up your flow, man,
Yeah.
but I wanted to pick up the story where we had left off, I guess. Like, so that all happened, and then you also, it felt like a lot of stuff for you as an artist started to click right around that same time. Like, I saw that you said I'm releasing an album with a label, and I'm working with a booking agent and stuff like that. It looked like you were you were organizing some of your other interests as well around that time.
And that's like the booking agency. I was on Midwood Entertainment, and that kind of dismembered. I don't know, maybe that's not the right dismantled, something like, I don't know. It fell apart, basically. And
Yeah.
it's not a thing anymore. But like,
I gotcha.
Brian Swank was my booking agent. He plays in Big Daddy Love, and great guy. Shout out to Brian if you're listening to this. You rock. But he's doing his own thing now, and I think he's booking some people. But it just was this thing where I was gonna book some gigs on the off chance whenever I could, but I booked like a 2-week run. Had a bunch of gigs. I was so excited. Had a killer band. But then some Old Crow shows popped up last minute, and then I realized, I can't be probably booking stuff because I had to cancel some dates, and I just don't want to be that guy, and I want to be known as like a reputable performer and not the guy who cancels all the time, so I've just not been trying to book anything just because I don't want to ever have to cancel, but I'm able to do stuff like this, and I'm releasing my own music, which is cool right now. Like we were talking about, got this new album coming out, trying to figure out the name right now, playing around with this title, Mobility. And because a lot of the songs are about like that. I wrote all this when I was traveling, left and right, trying to play this gig here and this little tiny festival over here, and basically running up the gas tank, and I don't know, a lot of the songs are about traveling somewhere or going to this place, so it seemed like a common theme, but
Yeah.
could be something else. It's kind of also a little maybe it's a little stagnant. I don't know. Mobility. That's an idea, but
I like it.
it's a working title. But it's going to be on Mountain Fever Records, and I got 2 singles out right now from it. Actually 3, but the other one is kind of before this original recording session, but we're going to add it on. This song that I did is a collaboration with my friend Sierra Farrell, who he's blowing up right now too. You know, shout out to her. Check out her music. You ever heard of her before? Or
If it's who I'm thinking of, okay? Maybe you can just tell me if it is or not. Is she signed right now?
On Rounder.
On Rounder. No, I'm thinking of somebody else.
But she was on like the Gems on VHS thing, or she was kind of YouTube famous for a little bit. Like looked like a train hopper kind of vibe. So
she might have got by me, but I've been a little out of the game.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Anyway, so did this song with her, and yeah, it basically that was kind of the start of like this. What I'm hoping, calling I guess my new sound. I feel like I've got all this old music online. I'm trying to figure out what to, how to handle that specifically, because I don't feel like it exactly represents me anymore. Like there's videos of me like, 12 years old at the Winston-Salem Shuffle still probably out there somewhere. And
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to handle that as an artist standpoint, thinking like, is that a good idea to keep it out there? I think it's part of the story, definitely. Yeah. But then there's another part of me that's like, well, if you throw my song on whatever streaming platform or social media thing, if you put my name out there and something else pops up first that instead of the new stuff, then it's like, it's a bummer, right? It's getting diluted, the good new stuff that you want people to hear.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? You ever deal with that?
I was like, as you were talking about that, I was thinking of it like, like some people are very, very cautious about the way that their whole image and the way that their whole name and stuff is perceived in that world, and some people totally aren't, and it just depends. But it sounds like
you're take it, right?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like you're thinking of it from like a strategic standpoint of whether or not it competes with, I guess, where you've really like, because it is kind of weird now that we have, unlike most other generations, we have evidence of us as like dumber versions of ourselves.
Yes.
Than when we really
like
started
literally
becoming...
like recordings of me over 10 years ago that are competing with
Yeah.
And it's funny too. Like I was talking to another buddy about this. We've been on tour with Molly Tuttle, and I've gotten to get to. I don't know if you know who she is, but she's an amazing flat picking guitarist and singer, and just a wonderful bluegrass artist, and one of the nicest people you ever meet. And she's been on tour with us, and I look at old videos like of her when she was like in her family band, and like she's like just as amazing, in my opinion, as you know. So it's like, but I see me when I was, the age difference between, and I'm like, I was a lot worse than I am now. So, but it's, there were some, I don't know.
You've had like different phases, like because I've known you for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
We've like crossed paths in our hometown a lot.
Yeah.
And you've had like, it seems like I've watched you kind of experiment with different
genres.
Sort of things.
Yeah.
Genres, instruments, looks, vibes, just
all that.
All that. What has it been? What made you so exploratory through all those years?
I just always kind of thought of myself as like a social chameleon, and I love diversity and variety, and I just love a little bit of everything. Variety is the spice of life. It's like I get into this thing, and then next thing I'm into this thing. I love so many different styles of music, and so many different types of people, personality-wise, senses of humor, all that kind of stuff, and different upbringings. I just like everybody for the most part. So that kind of leads, to that. But I think I don't know. I'm sure I probably have this syndrome of greener grass, on the other sides or whatever. Always thinking there's something better over here, and that's kind of been that like, oh, I start doing this thing, and like, oh, maybe hey, those guys are sounding really funky. Maybe I'll start a funk band. Hey, dang, that's a bluegrass band. They sound pretty good. Maybe I'll start, that kind of thing. It's like, I just do it all. It's really kind of hard to do everything, but in some ways it's made me well-rounded as a musician and helped me at the job I'm doing now, which, Old Crow is kind of like a very multi-genre variety show, so it's really helped in that sense, being able to play a bunch of different styles of music. But anyway, yeah, kind of rambling at this point, but
You got a lot to say, man.
The started out like going to the shuffle and listening to people like you were a huge inspiration, seriously, like in your music, and then as well as like other people in Winston and whatever that scene was at the time that I was trying to get into, and I was hanging out with these Hare Krishnas and got into that whole thing, and it was like basically just was playing kind of like a folky hippie kind of music there for a little bit. Then I started taking some lessons and learning fiddle tunes, and that kind of led me to get into bluegrass. But at the same time, I didn't want to be like a striking mirror image of my father, who was a professional bluegrass musician, in his day. And so I went on this funk thing, because I was like, oh, I can take whatever this funky folk, whatever thing I was doing, and just like electrify it, because I started going to the funk jam in Winston at Hump Day Funk Day. I don't know if they're still doing that, but that was awesome at Ziggy's back in. I just saw they're opening another Ziggy's again, the third installation or whatever. It was awesome. But anyway, started doing the funk thing, and then it was like I moved to college, and you can't really practice with a funk band in your dorm room. And I joined the bluegrass band there in Asheville at the school I was at, and there was a huge bluegrass scene in Asheville, and started doing that, taking bass and guitar lessons, doing that a lot, and then just kind of went, I was on this bluegrass kick for so long, and kind of am still on that. But Old Crow now, and being in this band, it's something bigger than bluegrass at this point. It's like Americana, which a lot of people talking about these genres, I'm sure it can be confusing, but Americana is more like rock and roll, basically, with like the band is kind of rock and roll with the influence of old time and acoustic and folk bluegrass music. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like in the future, I'd love, for my solo music to be something closer to what Old Crow is now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I don't know if this is weird to say or not, but I remember a few years back reading in Rolling Stone that Catch actually, like, kind of had a distaste for the term Americana. And I remember there's been, like, a thing where it's been interesting to watch different attitudes throughout music, and a lot of people on the outside of Nashville country seem to, like, be looking at the word country and reminding people, like, you keep calling us folk or Americana or this or that,
but it is country.
We're country.
No, I agree completely, and it kind of, and I only say that only say Americana because
which me, and I like the word Americana.
Yeah,
go ahead.
But it's like it because country has become something else. It's become the modern pop country that you hear on like Luke Bryan or like or Florida Georgia Line. Or I don't even Cole Swindle or whoever. I'm just trying to name all. I don't listen to the music, but it's not country anymore. It's like pop music that has a southern accent.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's what it is, or like southern rock, whatever. I don't know. It's not country anymore. It's not Willie.
Yeah,
it's not Waylon.
It's weird because like in the '90s, it wasn't like it was. I mean, I'm sure that was still like acts like whatever. I grew up listening to like Brooks and Dunn, Diamond Rio, including Garth Brooks or Alan Jackson or people like that. All this like mainstream '90s country.
Oh yeah, I love all that.
Those guys played in arenas and big places, not like football stadiums like Garth Brooks is now, but they played in big rooms, And I don't understand it. It feels like all that stuff that's come out of Nashville for the past decade and a half has been like trying to make sure, like trying to design country music that will like live only in sold out arenas or something. And it's sort of like, well, why is that the only thing that can fill up an arena when Garth Brooks is like massive and
all
these
agree.
other iconic
I agree.
bands
and I think that things are starting to easily change, slowly, because there's more and more acts out there that are not, kind of going along with the path that the mainstream is, and not basically, going in anyway. So they, like, doing their own path, basically. You know what I mean? And not conforming. That's the word I'm looking for to. The man, or whatever.
The country man.
They got the stick it to the maniosis. But yeah. So like an example is Old Crow, or Billy Strings, or Sturgill, or whoever.
Yeah.
These people that we're calling Americana, but in all honesty, are kind of country. I think of Old Crow really as like a all around country band. Like from the very roots of country music to, not exactly what is mainstream now, but like to more like outlaw country, I guess. There's some tastes of that too, and there's a little bit of everything, with going on with Old Crow. But that's what I like. I love a little bit of everything. That's why I'm so happy with the band.
Yeah, I love that, man. So let me ask you this. This is kind of interesting to think about. You're a singer. You write songs. You're a virtuoso musician.
Oh, thank you.
You really you've chopped some wood, it seems.
Appreciate it, man.
And I guess that's the trifecta. That's the trifecta. You also can like jump into different sounds of music, but you've already kind of, that goes with being a virtuoso, I guess. But anyway, the point is, of those three skills that you've kind of developed over all these years, which one do you think is like what you fuck with the most? Like what motivates you to make music the most of those three things?
Yeah, it changes. It's like you see different sides of it at different times. It's almost like the trifecta or whatever, the different side of the triangle will show itself to you in a different way. And you're like, ooh, now that's interesting. Oh, I don't really want to do that anymore. Now that's interesting. But I think all artists, well, not all artists, but for me, I started out wanting to do this because I had this feeling of like, hey, check this out, wanting people to like, look at me, kind of, hoping to be a star, I guess. And that's what has been a driving factor at my core, if I'm going to be honest.
I really appreciate that, because no one ever says that, and I think that's true for most of them.
I think it's true for most people. Everybody, to some extent, you can go on and on about how like everyone seems like they want to be some kind of influencer nowadays, but we all, I don't think it's that wild to say that we'd all like people to recognize what we're doing, and that it has, and to think it has worth, and to like, and to be accepted, to like what we're doing, and for it to be accepted, basically.
100%, man.
Yeah. And I love to create music because I was born into it. Like, my dad was a professional musician and singer-songwriter, and I grew up going to fiddlers conventions, music events, festivals, gigs, all that stuff ever since I was a baby in a tent over, at some festival ground in the mud, you know what I mean? And so it's in my bones. I really know it is. Like, I hear it and I feel it and all that. But not to say that I haven't worked to, put the time in to understand it and to, master my craft in whatever way.
Right.
But yeah, there's been the longing there for a long time.
So I guess, so we touched on we went to some extra places, but so the trifecta, I guess you're saying that like in different circumstances, you're fancy in the same way that you were describing with your love for diversity and variety, that also influences what mood you're in as far as what's motivating you most. Like say I
go see you play, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I want to write a song like that. Just like your tear-jerking emotional heart, like, pull my heart out of here. Oh my God, somebody pick me up. And then, or like, I go see I just went and saw this killer show at the Ryman, and it's funny, like, a little side tangent here. We had just played the Ryman for New Year's Eve, and then I went to see a show like a week after, and I was like, I did this comparison in my head. I'm like, which is more fun? playing this, historic stage or going to see like an amazing concert here. And it's pretty tight. I mean, it was an amazing show. And
Yeah.
it's, it's also funny to not have to, to go, it's like you don't have the obligation or feeling of any responsibility and kind of stuff like that. And there's a different feeling of community when you go see a show versus going to perform. And it really just made me kind of realize in that moment and thinking about all that, how much the audience really matters and how, thankful I am that people, if you're listening to this and you've ever come out to see one of my shows, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Or Tyler, whoever, thank you for going to see live music. We need it. We need supporters. We need people there who believe in it. And oh my gosh, amazing instrumental show with like Sam Bush and Brian Sutton, Billy Strings, Molly Tuttle, Sierra Hull, Stuart Duncan, Edgar Meyer, what is it? Michael Cleveland, Bale Fleck, and Jerry Duck. Already said Jerry Ducks. Anyway, amazing band.
That's a lot.
I mean, it was some heavy hitters. It was shoot. But then, they just blew my mind musically.
Yeah.
And played some stuff that was like, made me feel certain ways, and I'm like, I want to make someone feel that way with my playing. And so I feel that trifecta too. Or then there's someone who, like I go see, there's people like James Brown. I love James Brown. Like, and that's when I got into funk music. That was the biggest thing. Like James Brown music it just makes me want to dance. It makes me happy. I want to make music that also gets people dancing and like puts a smile on their face. If I can do that to someone, I want to make music that makes people feel, different emotions, the whole spectrum. You know what I mean? And like, if you can do that, that's a show. And that's what I kind of love about the show right now. Ketch is great at like piecing it all together. And I've really tried to learn as much as I can from him because he'll, we'll play something that makes everybody laugh. We'll play something that makes everybody cry, and then all the pieces in between, so it's I think that's what makes a great show. But then there's, and then through the American Idol experience, I can't tell you how many I had to sit back while I was in the theater watching the showstopper performances. And even though there was all this anxiety, kind of going through my head, like, I hope I make it through the next round and all that stuff. I sat back there for a moment and I was like, wait a second, I'm just going to watch these performers, go on and sing, because I'm like, I'm seeing some of the best talent in the world right now.
Yeah.
During COVID, the middle of it, where like nobody can go see a concert, I'm here at the Dolby Theater seeing like one of the, like sometimes it's good to just sit back and be like, wow, take it all in. And there were some amazing singers there. And so that inspires me too, to work on hitting all the fancy runs and be Mariah Carey or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, those are the things that inspire me.
Let me ask you this. I come from a group of friends that are a lot more jaded and pessimistic and probably cynical in ways, and you have this infectious positivity and like what seems like a real genuine like connection to fucking life sometimes. And I knew this about you before today, but
yeah,
as you talk through things, it's just like your attitude shows through, and I'm just like, is that something that you decided? Is that something that you're aware of? Is that something that
I'm slightly aware, just because people kind of tell me that I'm very, energetic. But I've learned to play into that. You know what I mean? And realize that maybe you think it's annoying, whatever, but I think it's who I am. It's my personality, and it's honestly probably one of my strengths in a lot of ways. As well as, I'm not always as positive, honestly, but I try to be as positive as I can, just because nobody likes somebody who's complaining all the time and being a downer.
Yeah.
It's just lame as hell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, might as well just, and it doesn't, it comes in waves. Like sometimes it's harder to control that and all. And I'm sure and that's all like what I've realized, as I get older is like, it is anxiety is what it is. And, that some people are dealing with all that jaded, whatever that is, that's like people dealing with, some internal stuff, like not feeling good in some way or the other, being jealous of something, or I don't know what it is, just not being happy.
Yeah.
And so I really recently have been trying to think about the positive outlook of life, see the sunshine and the rainbows as much as I can, and just because it makes life easier.
Yeah.
And a lot more fun.
I mean, I think it's super, like I say, infectious. You remind me, talking about it, like I noticed that you remind me in some ways of a really good friend of mine who I used to work with, who, I don't know, I just think he had a similar philosophy about life in a way where it was just like,
Yeah.
that's what energized him or something. And for, especially now when COVID, this whole experience as a community has like, it's made it really easy for people to feel nothing but cynicism and criticism and like almost hatred, like hatred
Yeah.
is like 4 steps down from wherever they're at.
I know the world is so divided right now. It's a heavy place.
So
in
it's
a lot
kind of
ways.
nice to hear,
Well, man,
just
I gotta be honest
positivity.
too, because I feel like you're being very, kind with your, like you're basically complimenting me on this journey and asking you're kind of interviewing me and asking me all these questions, which what I love about this podcast, and I just like I had told you to anyone, I actually did a podcast earlier with someone. Hopefully, I was not. This is actually going a lot better than that other podcast. So hopefully, I'm glad this one's getting here. I don't know about the other one. I would kind of just, the other thing is I drank a lot of caffeine today. Oh my gosh, I had like 3 cups of coffee. But basically, I don't even know where I was going with this. But no. So it's nice to be asked questions, and I feel like there's a lot of people in the world who are not really having genuinely engaging conversations anymore.
Yeah.
And I find sadness in that, and that's why I love this whole podcast thing, because for one thing, you're interested in me, and I'm interested in you, and we're doing something that maybe somebody else might be interested in. It's all very It's
all
a circle of good vibes.
That's what I hope. That's really what I hope. Not just for the music community, but for the local community at large. And I think like I told you before, you're kind of a success story in a lot of ways, and I think it's worth talking about. And I think it's a great thing. And I mean, I guess with full transparency, like with any musician, when any of us heard that you have found yourself in Nashville in this situation you're in, there's a real temptation there to be jealous and to be like, man, like that happened to somebody from my neighborhood. It could have happened to me, or it could happen to me and it hasn't, or whatever. But I think for me, it was just like, I don't know. I'm just glad that it happened. I'm glad that you're like,
well, thank you, man. It's
doing
one of those,
something.
well, I mean, like, especially with, you ask me all these things, it's hard for me to not be positive, because I really got to, you got to count your blessings. I'm very thankful. I realize, especially like, how many cats that are back here. When I say cats, I mean people, but
and cats.
And cats too. How many people that have worked there, those cats, those kitty cats have worked so hard at their craft.
They've given up 8 of their 9 lives. Yeah.
No, but they, so many people have worked so hard, and then, I don't know, just something, they never got the break. And that's, it's sad, because there are so many amazing musicians out there that work really hard at it. And I can't deny that there's a little bit of luck, that goes into some of this. But as well as, I realized, like with what I was talking about with the imposter syndrome and how I've learned to deal with that, is like I would not have been able to get the gig and to still be here in the gig, and if I'm, wasn't doing something right. And I, constantly reminding myself that it's like, I'm worthy to be here and doing this. But like, there's so many other people that are like, worthy of it too. So I hope the best for other people as well.
Yeah. I totally believe you. I hope the best for other people too, and for everybody else. But, another thing I think about you is like, I think your whole, whatever your relationship is with positivity, I think does make a big difference. Because, I've met P. I don't know about you, but when you were talking about, like, I don't know, having an experience at Red Rocks and being like, not thinking of it as like, I'm determined to get on that stage at some point, and like that's my only mission
Yeah.
in life. When you're that focused, sometimes you can turn into a prick, you know, like, and it's not that surprising.
That's funny.
Yeah, I guess between the two of us, I'm probably the judgmental one that would say that and whatever. But you know, some people. All I'm saying is, being a great musician is cool. Being a great person is cool too. And like sometimes when you're a pleasant person to be around, that really, it just the world just opens up to you better. And like, you know, people like being around you. I think is a thing.
Oh well,
You know?
yeah. Try my best. You know, do what I can.
I don't suppose it's your goal. I just mean I think it makes sense as a byproduct.
Yeah. You know, do what you can.
So that is what I remember. You said something earlier that reminded me of when I used to see you around Stokes County.
Yeah.
I remember thinking of you as like a hippie kid.
Yeah. I mean, literally was kind of went down the stereotypical hippie trail of like, you know, turned into a vegetarian, joined the Hare Krishnas, you know.
Can you tell me
All
what that is?
So the Hare, it's been such a while, but when I was about 14, like I got exposed to hanging out with like the Hare Krishnas, which are like the term Hare Krishna is like a mantra that and it's what the people who are Hare Krishnas, which is kind of like a consciousness thing is what they call it, but it's really like a sect of Hinduism that is like a monotheistic version where they worship Krishna, who is like in Hinduism, there's kind of like 3 different versions of God. One's Brahma, the creator, Krishna, is the middle one, and then Shiva is like the destroyer. And there's all these different, it's a, you know, Hinduism as a whole is like a polytheistic religion where Hare Krishna is like focusing on Krishna and the different incarnations of who the Krishna, the guy. I'm not trying to go into like a whole religion class here. Actually, you know, it'd be great for that. It's like Josh Shelton you had on here. Didn't he like study religion or something? I thought so. But,
Did he? I didn't even know.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I
don't
can't
know.
believe religion didn't come up in that conversation.
Yeah, but
anyway, yeah.
But anyway, so or a buddy of mine, I know I have a couple friends who study that, but basically got into that whole thing, and I realized it looking back why I was into it, and you know, my whole, you know, whatever relationship with religion is still complicated. I'm not exactly sure where I am or how I fall. You know, I believe in God, I know that, you know, but then like everything else is a little, I'm not exactly sure, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I was thinking that at the time. I was hanging out with a bunch of atheists and was kind of like an atheist for a while. And then was hanging out with these Hare Krishnas all at the same time. Then I was like, oh, this is cool. It's a lot more, because I went over there and they had all this great food that they fed me. And they were like, bring your guitar. We're going to sing songs and dance and praise God. And I was like, that's awesome. Yeah, this is different. I could do this thing. I'm like I said, the whole greener grass on the other side kind of syndrome. I'm starting to realize that, you know, now it's like, oh, it's like this is way better than Christianity. Let's just try this for a little bit. And, you know, and then like I met a lot of cool people through the whole experience and like went on these trips and these Hare Krishnas, they like to have fun. You know, it's good, clean fun. They're all just dancing around and like singing and swaying and like, I mean, they really, it's like they're kind of partying, but you know, totally straight edge.
Yeah.
And great food. I mean, I tell you. And really, the other thing that I loved about it is instead of like getting preached to, it was like we all sat in a circle and we were reading the Bhagavad Gita together. And then it was like, you might have met this guy Mitra, who did
he used to come up to the Stokes Stomp?
Yeah.
I met some
he played
of them.
like this Mitritar thing.
Yeah, I think I did meet him.
Yeah, Mitra. Great, you know, he's like a very wise dude. But he would lead these you know, little like a sermon basically, but it was, you know, more of a discussion and be like, now what do you think of that? And it felt more like, wow, this is awesome. You know, we're all like just kind of saying how we feel, and it feels more like included or whatever this version of anyway. But then there was like all of this turmoil within the church. Like that temple was like right across the street from this other temple, and they were like trying to. Anyway, I don't want to get into it too much, but then it was like, why aren't? Anyway, there was some politics and drama that kind of went in there, and it was like, I'm about to move to college. Let me just, go do this. And then also all that same time, I joined the funk band, and then like Camry, the drummer who you met, he like took me to like the black church, and I felt that same kind of thing. I felt over there at the Hare Krishna thing, because I was like, wow, everybody's dancing and.
Yeah.
Everybody's having a good time. It's like, this
Big
is a killer
energy.
band, and everybody's really getting into it. And this,
Yeah.
this isn't just like, now turn the page to, or, shut up, and we're all gonna. I hope I'm not offending anybody who's like listening, but basically, and I think I just realized that whole experience was like that music was like, Jimi Hendrix kind of things like music is my religion. It's like, it makes me feel something. I definitely think any religion that has some kind of music in it, and then. Through bluegrass music going on, like I connected with that old timey gospel-y kind of down to the river to pray kind of feeling, and like, I'm not, like I said, I don't know exactly how I feel about, or what I classify myself or whatever, and where I'm placing myself in that whole religious spectrum. But I tell you what, those old gospel songs, man, they're powerful. You know, whoever, whatever your religion is, any of that stuff, a lot of people can feel that there's conviction in a lot of the way that these people sing it. And there's something I've, felt in that. Maybe it's because I'm, was born and raised in it. And it all kind of came back as like, yeah, this is what I was like, my culture. Might as well not try to change up too much. It's like the same thing with bluegrass. When I've tried to do the funk thing or like whatever the heck else I was doing, just come back and be like, I was raised up in Stokes County. It's okay to be country and, hillbilly or whatever.
Yeah.
There's, you ain't got to, I don't know. Anyway.
I relate to that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went off on a long tangent there, but
No, I mean, it was like good for me to. I mean, I asked too. What it all was. All this good food you're eating, it was all vegetarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've stuck with that a little bit. I eat fish now. It's a pretty healthy diet being the pescatarian, right now. And kind of went down to the beach with my buddy Pinky, and he was like, "Hey man, hold my beer." He said, "Hold the rod. Here, I got to get a beer." That's what it was. And then so there was this moment where I was like, "I want to reel this fish in." It felt like a little kid on the banks of the river again. I was like, "Oh, it's all coming back." I was like, "I want to catch fish." And then just like start eating fish basically after that. But yeah.
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 I hear that.
But anyway, yeah. I don't know where we're going with all that. But.
It's all good, man. You can go anywhere. So, well, where are you going next? I mean, what do you think what feels like it's on the horizon for you?
Well, I appreciate you asking, because I guess in a sense I'm trying to figure that out. I got these albums coming out. It's like got basically like 3 albums in the can that are not out yet.
Yeah.
And I really want people to hear them. Not all my, only one of them being my project. And yeah, I want people to hear my album when it comes out. I want to record more music, which is I'm kind of coming to terms with. That I basically am not going to be able to release the music at the same time that like I'm writing it, or at the same speed that I'm writing songs. Like I might write 20 songs, by the time that I write another single is released. Sorry. But like, so that urge of putting out stuff, it's interesting. It's, cause I'm not going to be able to ever fulfill it fully. Do you know what I'm talking about? The way that like the music industry, I guess, is working right now is like you can't, it's like 3 months or something. And for some people, at least the label that I'm at right now, they want to wait. It's been 3 months since I've released my last single, and they're trying to wait even longer for this next one to come out.
I guess I don't know that, because a lot of the independent artists I know have been talking about like how now it's like it's hard to keep up with how much, like, if your business model isn't based in like what people who are really smart about how to sell records know. If it's more instead about like how to manipulate social media to generate attention and stuff.
Yeah.
Those people feel like, independent artists feel like, I have to be putting stuff out like once a month.
That's, I mean,
and
honestly,
stuff.
kind of how I feel, and probably maybe that could help me. But for, I guess, radio airplay, wise, waiting longer is better for like serious, I guess, for this bluegrass thing from what they've been telling me. But I know exactly what you're talking about. I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah.
I want to get better at TikTok too, you know.
Yeah.
I know I need to talk to Josh Shelton about it because he seems like he's figured it out. Like, but
Yeah.
he seems like also at the same time I feel like he's posting like a billion videos. I don't have that much time put to it, you know. I'm in a little bit, but
Yeah.
I'd rather record music, like record a song and release that than to do the TikToks. I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I'm kind of getting. That's the content I want to share.
Do you want to engineer your own stuff?
I have done that,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized through this whole experience of joining the band and recording with Old Crow that it's definitely worth it to, you know, pay someone else that has the right equipment
Yeah.
to do it. Just because it's so many thoughts, at least for me in my own head, of like how the mix should be. Oh, it needs to be like this. Oh, that's not perfect. All that stuff. It's just needless worry when you could just be like, hey, you got an ear too.
Yeah.
Why don't you do it? You're not as so connected to this that it has to be this perfect. You know, I've come to terms with that because otherwise I'm way too nitpicky. And like, it took me like months and months for this one little EP that I did that honestly is not very good. You know what I mean? But I like worked on it. And the mix of one song is pretty good, you know? But like, it was a live recording and, you know, anyway. I could get into the details of it. But, like, I actually, when I was in college, was, like, on the studio. We had these different work crews. And we had to work 10 to 15 hours a week there. And I actually got to start a crew, which was, like, in the library, which was called the Sound Lab. And in the basement of the library, there was a recording studio. And I got to be the first person to pioneer this Sound Lab crew.
Really?
And recorded so many different times. Actually, it's kind of funny because some of the people, like the rappers that I was recording, have gone on and have like, you know, 15, 30 to 30,000 followers on, or like got the blue check marks and stuff. And it's like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, I just thought you were just coming here fucking around, but like, wow, you are really doing something, you know? Like, it just makes you look back and be like, you know, whatever I was doing was actually kind of meaningful. That's pretty cool.
So you like to kind of separate that, which really makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, like, and oddly, being that I have a studio here, it seems to slow down my process in a lot of ways because I'll sit with a song for months and months and add little things to it and stuff. And I don't know. Back in the old days, I used to like drive to some studio in Westfield and record for 3 hours and come out with like 8 songs, you know? And that was just all it was.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, but I kind of miss that simplicity of not being on the engineering side. So I guess I kind of know what you mean, but yeah,
well, you
man.
don't. That way, you're not like, oh no, we could do a better take. You just got to be like, I got to get it done.
Yeah,
I got to get right.
Yeah.
Which it's nice to be able to have the flexibility to go back again, but there's definitely a point of like, all right, that was good enough. That you got to kind of come to terms with. Otherwise, you're gonna eat yourself alive as well as like spend your whole. To give you an example, I've like played on a friend of mine's album, played some guitar, and like I was overdubbing this break that I was like, oh, I can do a better break than I did on that one, and was in my room recording it, and this happened more than once, but like I'll record like 50 takes and then use the second one. You know what I mean? Like, well, it's actually the second one that was actually the best one. What was I thinking? Think I was going to do better or not?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. That's so real. Well, here's a question. Like, is it possible for somebody in your position to do both these things, to like use social media in this way where you put out songs independently? Is it like you don't want to compete with yourself and with the things you release on the label?
I guess I'm kind of trying to figure out like how much I want to. I'm trying to figure out my own like idea or like relationship with social media, just because I'm kind of finally at this point where I, like, up until now I felt like I had to use it as this like platform to share my music, and it was the only way people were going to hear me or figure out about me.
Yeah.
Or like be interested in me. And now I'm just kind of like, you know, Catch, when I joined the band, I remember asking him about, can I do gigs? And then I remember him saying, well, I just want it to where you don't have to play gigs, if you don't want to. You don't need to be playing, just some silly, if it's a good gig, let us know. But, like, I don't want you to have to be going to play, like, the bar. And it was one simple statement, but that started a whole, like, avalanche of mindset, like, man, I don't have to be giving out all this, spitting out all this content all the time. I'm just, I'm relevant now, which is so cool because, like, I'm in this band who's doing some crazy stuff. Like, I don't have to post nonstop just to be like, hey, look at me. I'm still cool. I'm relevant because I don't have to worry about that as much anymore. And I've kind of started to come to terms with that. And, like, just trying to learn this year, too, like, I don't have to be doing something every second. Like, right now it's okay to, like, be taking some time off because I have toured this whole year. Before that it'd be like, oh, I need to be working on booking a gig or, getting that next, I gotta be doing something. And it's so cool to take a breath and be like, actually I did that. I got some stuff coming up with the band. Like, that's being in the band is my job, and that's really my only real responsibility. I do want to, like, I'm doing other artistic stuff, like I'm doing this, so I get to kind of be more selective, I guess, about it, which is cool.
Yeah. Man, that sounds like it would be a real blessing to be in that state of mind where you're, like, not. Yeah, I feel
it's
that
only
way
kinda,
all the time.
Dude, it's only kind of starting to come to me now, and it's hard because I've been on that grind trying to push my stuff to everyone since I was like 12, hoping that, oh, please give me the likes, give me the what, it's kind of I don't know.
That's how I feel
a little bit, but it's also addictive,
That's what
in a good way. Like, oh, you liked it, you thought it was great. That's awesome.
You
shared my video.
It comes up so much on this podcast because it's like so many people feel so differently about it, and I'm in the camp that just it don't come naturally to me at all, and I really whatever. I've got my beefs. I've expressed them lots, probably too much, but I don't love it. And so that feeling you just described, like I wish so much that I could get to a place where it felt like I had an audience enough that it was like I share things, people know about them, people do with them what they will, but I don't have to, like, think of it as I need to grow my audience kind of thing.
Well, have you ever thought about doing I had this idea today. It's kind of funny. I was thinking, because I was thinking about this whole thing. I was thinking about the Winston-Salem Shuffle. And I'm like, somebody should bring that back. Have you ever thought about, like, spearheading something like a project? I wonder what Wish is doing. Where's he at now?
Wish, he should be coming on the show fairly soon, I hope.
Oh, really? I want to hear that one.
If you get a chance, if you track him down on Facebook, he's just started a really cool nonprofit organization all about instrument building.
Oh, yeah, because I know, actually, shout out to Wish whenever he's on the show. Hopefully, maybe he'll listen to this. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But he gave, my dad was the victim of like a very vicious, sad, like brutal physical assault by this dude, this like random like ex-con who was all drugged up. He was at, like, Dad was playing some house concert, and this guy who had, like, these Nazi tattoos and stuff, I mean, like, picturesque, like, bad dude, came from behind him and, like, basically tackled him off of a porch. Jesus. And he ended up landing face first onto the back of a truck and, like, had to do all this, like, he had a concussion and had to get all these, like, dental work done. So he had his teeth all jammed up in his head and stuff,
Good Lord.
Still dealt with, like, issues, from that still to this day. But, like, I threw this, I don't know what I was thinking. When I was young, I was like, maybe I'll be able to help the bills or something. I threw this at, like, Honduras Coffee Shop.
Yeah.
I threw some little fundraiser and had some people who were kind of relevant at the time to play there. And then, but Wish, I remember he saw that and he donated, like, this, we called it the spaceship, or no, we called it the Millennium Falcon or something. It looked like the spaceship resonator mandolin.
Yeah.
And loved that thing. But, like, we ended up auctioning that off to help with, just trying to give some money for Dad's expensive. I don't know.
And he donated to it.
Yeah, he donated that, and
Yeah.
so huge. I hadn't talked to him in years, but that was really nice of him. He just gave an instrument to help that cause. I thought that was awesome.
He's a great dude, man.
Yeah.
He's up to cool stuff. So I guess to answer your question, me and a couple other people, we have been like fantasizing and daydreaming about what we could do to improve the music community in the area.
Yeah. Well,
And
this
maybe-
is probably a good start. Honestly, it's the other thing. It's like and I don't want to bring competition or anything, but I thought about doing a podcast too, because I'm like, I got some of this free time and I'm in Nashville. I'm like, I'm in the scene, like I know people, and I love trying to participate in something like this where I'm not exactly the focal point, but I get to still brand something, which I don't know if you feel the same way about doing this podcast kind of deal.
Yeah.
About like being able to play the questioner and not exactly the spotlight role
Yeah.
completely. You know what I mean?
Definitely. The social media embarrassment thing
Yeah.
is not so much with a brand that's kind of
Center-
separate from
yeah.
your identity. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like I'm not asking people to approve of me. I'm able to
You're like, hey, these are
good
conversations I'm
conversations, yeah.
having with other people. I'm trying to ask them and put them in the spotlight. And
I really am enthusiastic. I'm like, I really enjoy sharing
oh
those.
yeah,
I really love
helping
being
showcase
like,
other.
listen to this
artists and
conversation
stuff.
with this dude. It's great. But so that embarrassment isn't there. And if you're asking me, I think I would tell anybody who's actually interested in doing it.
Yeah.
I have found this medium to be almost like therapeutic in a way.
Oh, that's great.
And like, man, I don't know. I fucking love it.
No, that's great. No, it's funny. Yeah, like we were talking about earlier. It's like more people should be having conversations like this.
Exactly,
in the first place,
exactly. And I think I don't know about you. Whatever. You talk about having anxieties or whatever. I too have had my own, and like I don't know, man. It's something. There's something meditative about it. There's something really pleasant about like focusing my attention on you and just like listening and being aware of the fact that I want to have a good conversation with
Yeah.
you. So anyway, if you ever bite the bullet and try it,
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy it.
All right.
Yeah.
Great segue there. Go check out my podcast whenever it comes out.
Yeah. You got any cool names for it?
I don't know. That's Conversations with Mason. I don't know. It doesn't really rhyme. I don't know. It's something. What's a word for like talking that starts with an M? You got one? I can't even think of one. Mouthing.
Mouthing is a good one.
Mouthing with Mason. It's kind of weird. That's just
Yeah.
Mason for mouthing.
Yeah, it's almost suggestive.
Like, I don't know about clicking on that link.
I was what about Vi con Dios?
Vaya con Dios.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's nice. That could be good.
Yeah.
Well, cool deal. Is there a? How long do these normally go? Are we ended? Are we getting?
That's I was just wondering. I was
Yeah,
wondering
yeah.
if we wanted to take it somewhere else, and I think we've probably like covered a lot of good shit.
Covered a lot of good. I definitely need a glass of water. Either way,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking I'm. Yeah. Either way, if you got one,
Good deal. Well, in that
we could keep going. I just think about getting a glass of water.
I'm thinking about getting a glass of bourbon. So I think that must be our cue, man.
There we go. Well, thanks for having me, man. This is awesome.
Again, I just want to thank you for coming over, and
Yeah.
I'm really glad we finally made right on my mistake from the past
Oh
of losing
yeah,
your
dude.
episode.
No, man. Happy to. This is cool. Like I said, huge inspiration through the years, man. This is it's cool to be on here. I think it's cool. I think
It's cool to have you.
Like I was saying, anyone who's out there, shout out to my other buddies who are on here. His and hers, and then whenever Wish goes on here, definitely check that one out. And then Josh Optical, wherever he's calling himself now, but Josh Shelton, loved that one too. Thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So go check those out too.
Well, Mason Vi, you've been killing the game. Keep killing the
Yeah,
game.
appreciate it, man.
And we're happy to watch it. So
Red House.
keep it going. All right, man. I guess that's it. Thank you again.
There we go.